Okay, yeah, let Carl get settled. I guess I'm good to go. I've been listening to all these in-depth, very good presentations. I didn't realize it had to be so in-depth. I mean, I could have gone deeper, but 5 minutes, I thought we are just talking about performance strategies. Let me get into mine anyways. Okay, so you can see me and see my slides. I can't see it. Okay. All right, guys. So welcome. I'm going to be talking about Matthew Fraser, not necessarily my personal athlete or client, but as most of you might know, if you're into fitness and CrossFit, he's the fittest man on the planet for I think 5 years running now. Just won the 2020 CrossFit Games, and this is his basic background. He in his off season, he typically doesn't train nearly not as hard. His calories go down into decreased by maybe 4,000 calories. He really just goes into his off season, not really minding what he eats or anything like that. So I really thought he could use some performance strategies and a little bit of extra guidance in terms of where he's going to peak even better in his competition, specifically the CrossFit Games in 2021, and how we can help him get there a little bit better using these two performance strategies based on his height of 5'7" and his body weight around 90 kilograms. So in CrossFit, typically they promote, even with the ISSN backing this, paleo diets and zone diets aren't really suited for individual athletes. However, they promote it towards more of a one size fits all, which is not necessarily, how it doesn't lead to superior performance for high intensity workouts such as CrossFit. So where I'm going with this is it's not one size fits all. Suggest he as little as lower than 5, suggest he amp up that demand to about 9,000 calories, especially with his carbohydrates. According to the ISSN, as a high elite performing athlete, increase it to 8 grams per kilograms or more. And his fats remain at 2 grams and his protein at 2 grams. However, for muscle building and maintaining his muscle, while of course depleting his fat storages from his off season, he'll probably amp it up to 3 grams per kilogram of protein, according to ISSN, to decrease his fat. So he trains about 12 times per week, typically in the morning for 2 hours and then 4 hours in the afternoon. It varies as his season goes on. So I think during, as I said, his off season, he'll be training twice a day, and through to his competition, his main focus will be increasing his training times, increasing the amount of times as well. So let's go on to my 2 performance strategies. Don't want to waste too much time. As I mentioned, creatine supplementation and carbohydrate loading. So first one, why creatine supplementation would benefit Matt, first of all. So I think it's very important that, for his races that are less than 2 minutes at the CrossFit Games, his glycogen is his predominant fuel source, and, he'll need early support from creatine to boost his high intensity exercise capacity for all of these different short workouts. So, and it'll regenerate ATP during very intense exercise, so replenish quickly. So for all these short duration workouts, it's all using creatine phosphate basically. And then whereas his longer workouts, it'll utilize, it increase aerobic mechanisms and glycogen, glucose important. So that's why I'm going to go on to the higher carb loading in a second. But it also very important for him for post rehab, for exercise recovery, for injury prevention. Very important for CrossFit athletes because it's a 3-day competition. So in between, he'll be needing to really take care of his body, really need the right supplementation to take care of this while having that increased performance. And at the bottom, as you can see, I mentioned that for lifts over that 2-minute section, it's a primary energy provider for the anaerobic glycolysis. Okay, so moving on, the creatine dosages for Matt specifically, typically you can just have a little read at the top, but for Matt specifically, the most effective way I'm going to suggest for him is having a 5 gram of creatine monohydrate 4 times daily for the first 5 to 7 days. And this will be about a month leading up to the competition, already trialing and erroring with how much creatine really works for him specifically. This would load to about 26 grams on a daily basis for 7 days. And then once it's fully saturated, the muscle will generally maintain it at 3 to 5 grams per day to maintain that performance. So yeah, number 2, carbohydrate loading, another way to increase his performance. I believe that, you know, going into all these different exercises, going through all these different workouts at the CrossFit Games, it's all depending on how much energy expenditure you use. And the longer the workout, the more energy required. Therefore, this is an easy one to kind of recommend for him. And he's not shy with it. He actually eats rice with almost every meal. And I'm going to go ahead and suggest that he sticks with high glycemic index, high GI carbs, specifically after his workouts. So this is my protocol for him for workouts less than 90 minutes, longer than 90 minutes, because at the games, they have events lasting a little bit longer with marathon runs, with swim events, with now biking events. And then they have, of course, less shorter, higher intense, less duration workouts as well. So especially during the recovery phase, as I was mentioning, he have 1.2 grams of over 70 grams of high GI foods immediately after his exercise within 4 hours. And this is with the ISSN position stand as well as a little bit of caffeine. So that's just a little boost for his performance as well in between his workouts. Okay, moving on. So yeah, as I was mentioning, you know, these foods are very important for him because it's not going to upset his stomach. It's going to really just get right into his system, quickly digestible, and really just help him out in recovering and for replenishing energy storages. So a little bit of a tie-in to energy expenditure, just quickly. I have a few little extra points on top of this, how 2 of them combining together can lead to an even greater performance. And with creatine, another benefit with working outside for Matt, exercising, it will thermoregulate his body temperature and help him retain the small amount of water inside. So prevent that excessive sweating while staying a little bit more hydrated throughout his workouts. And these are just 2 interesting study reports that I came across when I was looking at the combinations of these 2 specific performance enhancers, not thinking about the additional protein that he'll be consuming or different performance strategies, just these specific 2. But as you can see, people are doing both of these things, especially for greater high intensity and drive power and speed. And actually in Australia, you might know Dr. Reed, there's evidence here that creatine loading 20 grams per day combined with moderate carbohydrate can lead to substantial increase in muscle glycogen compared to carbohydrates alone. So I thought this would be a very important factor for Matt. And this is just one last point for me. just one more study for 4 days that Biosport conducted. Actually, this is one of the only reports, study reports done based on this, where creatine supplementation 25 grams per day, and how carbs, they showed the result basically saying that led to a decreased provision of energy via anaerobic glycosis compared to simple creatine injection. So blood circulation, pH levels are more regulated and increases performance. Yeah, I think that's it for me, guys, for my 2 performance enhancing strategies for Matt Fraser.
No, that's perfect, mate. I think you're a little bit hard on yourself, and obviously a few of the earlier people had quite large presentations, but the brief was to keep it shorter. And of course we can we are looking at your submission and not just this presentation, but you've obviously got a really good understanding of it all, and you displayed good understanding of the requirements of an elite athlete at the highest level. Yeah, overall, I thought your understanding of the athlete's need for training and performance was great, and I liked your reference to the research and also throwing up some graphs and things. And obviously this is a presentation, but this is, depending on the person you're working with, this is some of the stuff that you can really use to engage clients, like showing the graph with the creatine stores, you know, things like that is really good. And I liked your use of up-to-date research was good. The only things that I would pick on you about was it would be good to see like an actual meal plan, not just numbers. That always helps to actually show what it looks like in food terms, because it's hard. Like, we think in numbers, but people think in food, not numbers generally. Although a guy like this, I bet, has got a very good understanding of the numbers that are on his plate.
Yeah, I think I generally put some like white rice and legumes and avoiding things but such as fructose, just a small point in there, but yeah, and I didn't mention it during the presentation.
Yeah, and again, it's like you did very well and you got a good mark. Just trying to find some things to improve on, and the only other thing would be to elaborate more on the hydration. But other than that, very, very good, my friend, and your presentation looked nice, and you kept within time, so well done.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Reed.
Let's